Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
So once you have understood this, okay, this is basically we are writing down our equation of motion in this form. C times U plus K times U. This is equal to P. Now we have considered the frame representation, but the same thing can also be considered in the spring mass damper representation. Okay, and it's not very difficult to draw. You might be thinking, how do I draw the spring mass damper representation for multi-degree of freedom system? Remember, all you need to do, consider three masses M1, M2, M3 corresponding to the story masses. And then these to be connected on the leftmost end. So the bottom story would need to be connected to the ground. So let us start drawing. Bottom story connected to the ground. So this is my support here. I have a damper and I have a spring. This is connected to the first story mass M1. Okay. And the stiffness is K1 and C1. Now this story is again connected to the second story through K2 and C2. So this is my second story. And then again, this is connected to third story or the topmost story in this case. M3. And degree of freedom are basically defined like this for each of the masses. Okay, so this is the spring mass damper representation of the same system that you saw above that we discussed just before that. Okay, all you need to do think conceptually how the springs are connected, what is connected to what. Remember, there are also forces. So I will write down P1 applied to this, P2 applied to this, and P3 applied to this. Okay. Any doubt? All right. If not, then let us consider another representation of a multi-degree of freedom system like we did for single degree of freedom system. So if you remember, we said that, okay, we said we are going to dissociate the total system or the overall system in terms of mass component, damping component, stiffness component, or mass we also said, or let us say K component, C component, or U component or inertia component. Okay, so stiffness component, damping, and inertia. And we'll discuss why is it useful, why we need to do that. In many situations, it is actually very helpful if we consider system like this. So the overall system, let me redraw that system again for you. Okay, this is my overall system I have that we have considered here. Okay, I have, of course, damping the mass here at each level. Forces that are applied at different levels, P1, P2, P3. There are dampers at each level. Okay. So what I do, I dissociate this system in terms of stiffness component. Stiffness component would have all the stiffness contributing elements in that particular system. So in that case, it would be the frame, right? Frame is the one that contributes to the stiffness. So there is no mass here. There is no damper here. So in the stiffness term, I only have the bare frame. Okay, I have the bare frame and I say this is the static force that I am applying. Sorry, opposite to this. Fs3, Fs2, and Fs1. Plus in the second, I would consider only the damper term. So let me just do this. So there is no frame in the second part, only the damper term here. Okay. So in this case, there is no frame here and there is mass. Damper term are here, and this is FD3, FD2, FD1. And then in the second, third, the last term, I have all the masses, but no frame or damper. So only the masses are here. And this is Fi3, this is Fi2, and this is Fi1. So that my P1, P2, P3 is sum of Fs1, Fs2, Fs3 plus Fd1, Fd2, Fd3 plus Fi1, Fi2, Fi3. And this we have already previously stated, right? The total force vector would be, or let me write it in the reverse term. So Fi would be, Fi plus Fd vector plus Fs vector is equal to the applied force vector. Okay, and these vector are of course equal to the mass, like the inertial force vector is mass matrix times the displacement vector and so on. Okay, so this is a useful representation when we dissociate system in terms of only stiffness component, only damping component, and only the inertial component. And we'll see that why is that useful. Okay, so one way to derive the equation of motion is to consider the equilibrium equation for the system. But sometimes, that becomes a little bit complicated for convoluted system in which we have a lot of components and a lot of coordinates need to be found out. So this is the equilibrium method of finding equation of motion. But we would also like to have an alternative method in which, although we would utilize equilibrium, we can for equilibrium equation without having to explicitly write down each equilibrium equation for each degree of freedom system. Let us see how do we do that. Okay, basically what do we do? Remember, throughout the course we are only considering linear system. So when we consider linear system, principle of superposition can be employed. Okay, so what we are going to use, we are going to say, or let us say, we are going to utilize principle of superposition. Okay, that is one concept, and also the concept of stiffness influence coefficients. Okay, these two concepts we are going to utilize to formulate the K matrix and extend the same concept to also formulate the M matrix. Okay, to formulate M and K and M matrix. Okay, and many times it is much easier to do that. Plus it also gives us some insight into how the system actually behaves. Okay, so according to that system, remember any K matrix, the stiffness matrix, if you look at here, okay, these are the terms of the stiffness matrix, or these are the terms of the stiffness matrix. Now in terms of elements of a stiffness matrix, can I say any matrix can be written as K11, K12, so on, K1n, let us say this would be K21 and so on. K N1, similarly K22 and K N2. Okay, and there would be term, of course, Kij here at some point. Okay, let us say this is K. No, sorry, this is yeah, K2n here, and the last term here would be Knn. Okay, so and this is not specific to like what we are doing right now. This is for any general matrix. I can write individual elements something like this. Okay, what influence coefficient method does or assist us in doing is that it helps us to find out these coefficients individually. Okay, so if I consider, I can find out all these coefficients individually, and then I can formulate the stiffness matrix without having to write down the long equilibrium equations like we had done previously. Okay, and let us see how do we do that. Okay, so we consider our 3 degree of freedom system. So we will utilize the same here as well. So we will say that my Kij, or this influence stiffness influence coefficient, is nothing, or let me, before going into that, let me first write down. I know that my force is stiffness times displacement. Okay, and this you might have studied in your structural mechanics or any other course, but I'm just repeating here for the sake of information. If I consider unit displacement u equal to 1, then the force becomes the stiffness. Okay, so basically what I want to say, for unit displacement, okay, for unit displacement, the force is, or instead of saying that, the stiffness is force in the system. Now this is for a single degree of freedom system because I only have one coordinate u here. But let us say I consider Fij here equal to Kij times Uj, something like that. Okay, in that case, what I basically want to say that if I have Uj equal to 1, then Kij is equal to force Ij, which basically say that Kij is force in the ith degree of freedom due to Uj, which is basically due to displacement in the jth degree of freedom. Okay, can I say that? Okay, if that is established, okay, I can do that for all the degrees of freedom. Okay, so you can imagine if I apply u1 equal to 1, okay, and other displacements are kept 0, let us say u2 equal to 0 and u3 equal to 0, then I would have to apply forces K11, K21 and K31. Okay, so basically what I want, or what I'm trying to say here is that the force, or in this case, the influence coefficient, that is Kij, is the force required along DOF I due to unit displacement at DOF J. Because if you look at it, the same system that we have considered, okay, I apply a unit displacement at U1. I know that in general, if I deformed a structure, then I would need to apply, I would basically be generating forces in all of it, all the degrees of freedom, isn't it? So I'm saying that I'm applying U1 equal to 1 here. Due to this, in general, I would have forces generated, which I would write it as K11 because this is degree of freedom 1. Okay, so the first subscript always is the degree of freedom and at which you are considering the force. The second one correspond to the displacement. Okay, so K21 and K31. This is for the case when I apply the unit displacement at j equal to 1 and then I keep other 0. This you need to, okay, because if you consider this equation, only when others are equal to 0, I can utilize this equation. Okay, so when a unit displacement is applied at node 1 and other nodes, the displacement are kept equal to 0, then let us say I have to apply these forces to achieve that system. Okay, similarly, so this is U1 equal to 1, U2 equal to U3 equal to 0. Second case would be okay, I apply a unit freedom system, so it would deformed shape would look like something like this. Okay, so the U2 is equal to 1 here, U2 is equal to 1 and U1 equal to U3 equal to 0. And again, I will have to apply force here. This would be now what? I'm applying force at the second degree of freedom. So the second subscript is actually 2 here. And this is freedom 3. So K22 and K12. Okay. And then I'm applying the third one. So what I'm doing now, I'm applying a unit displacement at degree of freedom 3. So and keeping it 0 at other degree of freedom. So it looks like something like that. So U1 equal to U, or let me write like this, U3 equal to 1 here, or U1 equal to U2 equal to 0. So if this is the case, okay, let us say the force required to achieve this is K3, 3, and here it would be K23 and K13. Now, if you look at carefully, these influence coefficients are nothing, but this one is the first column of the matrix. Okay, so K31, K21, K11, sorry, not like this, in the opposite direction, K11, K21, K31. Similarly here, it would be K12, K22, K32. It would be K13, K23, K33. And I have done it for 3 degree of freedom system, but it can be extended, for multi-degree of freedom system, like, up to, let us say, nth degree of freedom. Okay, doesn't matter. So idea is, if we do that, then the forces actually provide me the individual columns of the stiffness matrix. Okay, and let us see how do I get that K11, K21 and K31. Okay, if I consider this system, okay, and if I consider the equilibrium of, let us say, this, okay, for that, basically the U2 here is 0, only U1 is there. So the degree of freedom in this one, okay, sorry, there is no mass here, only stiffness terms we are considering. Okay, and it actually looks like something like this. Okay, so from above, the force would be in the direction, if you just refer to the original one. Okay, from below, I know that this is 1 and the ground is 0. So my force would be equal to, let us say, first one, these were being represented as K1, K2, K3. These were the story stiffnesses. So K1 times equal to 1. Okay. In this case, it would be equal to K2 times U2 minus U1, which would be 0 minus 1, and that is in this direction. Okay, so if you look at, this is my K11, and if I write down my equation of motion, or for this one, K11 is nothing but K1. Okay, so K11 is this direction. K1 minus of minus K2. So it would be K1 plus K2. Now let us go to and for the other story, if you look at, so I have the other story as well, which is just above this. Okay, on which let me again, so it is in this direction. So remember the same times minus 1 would be in this direction, and here because there is no displacement, it would be 0. Okay, this got little bit convoluted here. Okay, so basically what I'm saying in this case, or let me just redraw it again, it doesn't look very good. So this is the first story here. The second story, which is just above this, is basically something like this. It has, okay, this is U2 here. Okay, the force that is being applied here is K2 times this displacement, which is 0, okay, times this displacement, which is minus 1. So U2 minus U1. Remember, U1 is 1, U2 is 0. Okay, and then I have this system for which the displacement is 0, so there is no force from above. Okay, and I need to apply this is my K2. K21 would be basically equal to minus of K2 here. Okay, and the third story for that case is story which is U3 is equal to 0, U2 is equal to 0. Okay, the force that is being applied here is K, or if I cut it here, there is no force being applied. So basically, if I'm consider just this story right here, U3 is equal to 0, U2 is also equal to 0. So the force that is required to maintain this K31 would be equal to 0. Okay, so the first column of this one, K11, K21, K31 would look like something like this. Okay, K1 plus K2 minus K2, 0. I still have to fill these three columns, these two columns. So for the second case, when I consider U1 equal to 0, okay, equal to U3 and U2 equal to 1. So basically I'm considering this shape here. Okay, in this case, I'm saying that it is something like this. So again, I can cut this in 3 halves and draw the free body diagram. Remember that the relative deformation between this and this is actually equal to 0. Okay, so let us say the force that is required to maintain this is basically K12, K22, K32, because deformation at the second degree of freedom system. Okay, again cut it and then see what do you get. For example, here K12, if I consider story stiffness as K1, K2, K3, K12 would simply be equal to 0. I know that because there is no force. No, it won't be equal to 0. Sorry. It would be equal to 0 from the bottom, but then I have again force from the top due to deformation in K22. Okay, so let me just draw the free body diagram of this one instead of just guessing. Okay, so in this case, it would be something like this. Okay, and it is applying basically the force which is in this direction. Okay, because the force above is in opposite direction. So this would be equal to K2 times U2 minus U1, 1 minus 0 here. And in this direction, it is equal to 0. There is no, basically K1 times 0. And the force here is K12. So if we write down the equilibrium equation, it would be K12 is equal to minus K2. Then if you go ahead and have a look at the second story, which is something like this. Okay, the force that need to apply is K22. So here it would be times U minus 1, which is 1 minus 0. And in this case, it would be K3, okay, U3 minus U2, which is 0 minus 1. And in the third one, okay, it is something like this. deforming like in this case here. Let me again redraw it. So this is K32 and the force that is there is KU3, which is 0 minus 1. Okay, so for this case, K22 I can write as K2, and if this goes on the opposite side, this becomes K2 plus K3, and this becomes K32 equal to minus of K3. So the second row is also known to me. Now let me just fill that up as well. First one, K1 plus K2 minus K2 0. This one is first term is minus K2. This is K2 plus K3, and this is equal to 0. Similarly, I can fill up third row as well. Okay, by doing exactly the same thing, U1 equal to U2 equal to 0 and U3 equal to 1. So in this case, it would look like something, let us say these are the degrees of freedom, something like this, the deformed shape. Okay, and then you can cut it. This is relatively easier because in this case, there is no force here because there is no force at this level from above and below. So I can directly say that K 13. So the forces required are K13, K23, K33, because for the deformation at degree of freedom 3, we are finding out at each degree of freedom 1, 2, 3, what are the forces. So K13 directly I can say at 0. K23, let me write it as equal to, in this case, forces due to above, which would be 3. Okay. And in this case, it would be equal to minus 1 minus 0. So U3, which becomes minus K3, and K33 would be simply equal to K3 times U3 minus U2, which is equal to 1. So K3. So overall matrix, now I have also filled up all three columns, and now you can match it up with your, sorry, this is not 0, this is minus K3 here. Okay, this is minus K3. So minus K3 is here. Then here it is 0. Here it is minus K3 and this is K3. So I have found out the stiffness matrix using the influence coefficient method. Now, while this might seem complicated at this step, you might be thinking this took more time. This took more time because I devoted more time to it, going step by step. You can just directly, when you become proficient, directly can cut it and write it like that. But if you find the other method easier, go ahead with that. However, you will see that in some of the problems, influence coefficient method works quite efficiently compared to the other method. Okay, so I have found out the K matrix. Okay, the other thing, remember, as I said, once you find out the K matrix and your damper is also similarly located at each level, then the C matrix would also be in the same form. However, the thing that I want to focus here is the mass matrix after the stiffness matrix. Okay, now for the mass matrix, again we follow a similar procedure in which we say that I'm going to apply a unit acceleration at node J, and then for that unit acceleration, I'm going to find out what are the forces required. Let us call it Fij. Okay, what are the forces required at different degrees of freedom? Okay, so Uj is equal to 0 and 1 and Uj double dot is equal to 0 for J, or let us call it Ui. Okay, for I not equal to J. Okay, so only at one called degree of freedom it is equal to unit acceleration. Other degrees of freedom you keep it, or basically you hold it. In reality, it would not be equal to 0. When you apply unit acceleration on one node, there would be finite acceleration at other nodes as well. But to get this, if basically the matrix, the mass matrix or the stiffness matrix, we follow this procedure. Okay, I'm going to apply unit acceleration at one node, keep the acceleration at other node 0. Okay, by applying forces, inertial forces Fij, and those forces would basically form the stiffness matrix, which would be, okay, or let us call it, instead of Fij, I will call it Mij. Okay, so this would, so basically I apply unit acceleration. Remember, when you apply the unit acceleration, your inertial force becomes the mass. Okay, similarly to what we done for the stiffness forces. Okay, so the force that need to be applied, let us call it as Mij, which is basically the influence coefficient, and this Mij which provide column vector for each of these. So you follow the same procedure, what we have done. Apply unit acceleration and then find out what are the acceleration at other nodes. So M12 same as M1n. Okay, no. Okay, it would be M11, M12, and so on, M1n. Then it would be M21 here, N1. Okay, M22, M21. Somewhere it would have Mij. I don't care right now. Okay, and this would be MNN. So we can follow the same procedure. Procedure is what? Apply unit acceleration at one node. So you go ahead, you consider the mass only. Remember, the bare frame has mass only. I'm not considering, so maybe I should have drawn these as dotted lines. Okay, so let us draw as dotted line. That's where we are going to use that representation that we had discussed. Okay, in this case, I'm saying that, let us say U1 is equal to 0, U2 is equal to U3 is equal to 0. So I'm applying unit acceleration, and other I'm keeping at 0. So a force would be required at all degrees of freedom to maintain that. So let us call this M11, M21, M31. So in this case, if you look at it, okay, there is no frame here. So if I consider the free body diagram of this, it would be simply you apply unit acceleration. So it would have in the opposite direction inertial forces M11, M1 times the unit acceleration, the force being applied as M11. So M11 you directly get as M1. In this case, no unit acceleration, 0 unit acceleration. So this would be M2 times 0, and this is M21. So M21 would directly be equal to 0, and so on. So if you follow this procedure, you will see that only the degrees of freedom at which unit acceleration is there for lumped mass system, you would get a finite influence coefficient. Okay, this would give you the first column as M1, 0, 0. Okay, when you do the, these are still not known. When you do the same thing, considering unit acceleration at the second node, you will see that again same thing happens. You would only have force at the degree of freedom at which you are applying the unit acceleration. So U1, U3 is equal to 1 and U2 equal to, 0 and U2 equal to 1. Okay, so no forces here. So M32 equal to 0, M13 equal to 0, not 1, sorry, M32, and this is M12. Because now the unit acceleration only at this point. So 0, M2, 0. And similarly, I can fill up the third column as well. Okay, now it is very simple for this kind of system. But let us say I had a beam in which, let us say I had defined degrees of freedom at these two nodes, U1 and U2. Because remember, this beam is supported by two springs K1 and K2. Okay, so in general, any beam in 2 dimension can translate and can rotate about its own axis. So in general, it would have 3 degree of freedom, 2 degree of freedom system. One is translation, other one is rotation. So depending upon whether you represent it in terms of U translation and U rotation, or you represent it in with respect to original position as U1, U2, like this. Okay. Now in this case, what happens when you substitute U equal to unit, the force at, okay, in this case, I'm saying that unit acceleration is at this node. Okay, it is U1 equal to 1 and U2 equal to 0 here. So it is actually linearly varying this between these 2 points as x by L. So the acceleration in between is x by L times 1. Okay, where x is in this direction. So the force that is required, M11, and this would be M21, okay, should balance this force. Okay, and in this case, M11 and M21, okay, both would have some finite, okay, or let us, instead of saying finite, let us say non-zero values. So this is different from the case that we have discussed, and this brings me down to the one of the questions that one of you asked, that what happens when we have, or in which cases I would get a non-diagonal term in mass matrix as well. So this is one example here. Okay, so using influence coefficient method as well, I can formulate an equation in this form. I have not discussed damping matrix because the procedure is similar to the stiffness matrix as long as they are similarly basically placed. The dampers are similarly placed. Okay. And we are able to get, so both these two methods are employed in multi-degree of freedom system to find out the stiffness matrix or the find out the equation of motion. And which one to use, it depends on the problem itself. And as you will do more problem, you will get accustomed or expert in determining where to use. But remember, in general, any type of system can be solved using either of these methods. It might be difficult, but you can employ any of these methods to find out the solution. Okay. And what we are going to do in next class, we are going to see examples of application of this method, okay, to different type of system. We have already seen how to do this for a 3-story building, but we'll also see that for other type of systems, how to employ that. Okay, and we'll see that as you get into more and more into this, it would become simpler to understand this. Now, one thing that I would strongly suggest you, what happens with this type of, remember, all these are not mathematically complicated. It's just that you have to keep in mind the displacement coefficient, multiple degree of freedom system. So today what you do, you after the class, you go through the lecture notes. Okay, you go through each and every step. It would save you a lot of time later if you invest some time right now in the beginning itself in the multi-degree of freedom system. Okay, the later it would save you a lot of time. So today, go after this class, read, go through the lecture notes and the videos that I'll post it today. Also go through your book and see how we have derived each of these equations. Okay. All right. Anybody has any question? Anyone? What we are going to do, we are going to end this class here today. Tomorrow we are going to meet at the same time. Okay, 7 o'clock. Okay, and there we'll going to do some examples of setting up the equation of motion for multi-degree of freedom system. Okay. All right. Thank you.